What's poppin', guys? You got your coach of the Gym Chargers for our GBA quarterfinals team analysis. Getting ready to playoffs now. Very excited. We did have a 1 week break, so now that that's over, we can go forward into the playoffs and try to win this all. Try to have a chance at winning the entire thing. In season 6, of course, we made semifinals, and then season 7 we made finals, but then we got hacked in the end. And now it's gonna be our chance to once again try to claim the title. And hopefully we can do it. So we are playing Gym Leader Gio, coach of the San Francisco GiEnteis, in another rematch once again. So this is our second rematch here. So pretty much a best of 3, I would say, if you put it into perspective. So we faced week 2, and in week 2 I was able to pull off a W, a nice clean W, very solid game overall. In week 11, I was about to pull off another W, but unfortunately, my man brought his Quick Claw and sniped me at the very last turn, so he did get me there. And in doing so, he actually secured a playoff spot. So now he's going to be coming back once again to challenge me a third time. This may or may not be his first mistake. I don't know. We'll have to find out tomorrow. But in best of 3s, I always enjoy them because even if I lose one of the games in a best of 3, I always do really well in the third game. So I'm hoping that that is the case for this coming up battle, but we'll see about that. His team consists of Mew, Mega Scizor, Toxapex, Dugtrio, Ditto, Rabombi, Shaman, Haxorus, Blacephalon, Rotom Fan, and Archeops. His Z-move mons being the Haxorus and the Archeops. So this should have already appeared to your right. Basically the exact same team from week 11. And I'm pretty interested to see what he brings this time. My guesses are that he'll probably bring a squad similar to the week that he won, which was week 11. So I feel like he'll bring maybe those similar types of Pokemon, because I know him to bring things he's most comfortable with, and he's most comfortable when he is winning. So I think he'll bring some similar mons from there. Probably not the same sets though, because he did bring a very sort of I guess a one-time kind of team, in the sense that he brought a bunch of explosion mons and then I guess some kind of a little bit of fast-paced offense. And that can really only work once, because I'm now prepared for something like that. And yeah, so I think this time though he will definitely bring Mew and Mega Scizor. He's brought that in the first 2 times we've played, so I definitely think that'll come for sure. I mean, those are his the 2 first Pokemon that he even drafted to begin with, so I think they'll come. Even though Mega Scizor got bopped like twice in a row now, I think he'll still bring it, but he'll probably be more prepared. Maybe play a bit smarter with it, I guess. Toxapex and Dougie, so those 2 mons may or may not come, I think, because Toxapex and Dougie are Pokemon that you can really prep well around for. Like for instance, in the first week that we played him in week 2, that we played Geo in, I was bringing Shed Shell and a couple mons, and he had to really play smartly and aggressively to try to get knockouts and stuff. But otherwise, it'd be tough for Dougie to trap things if I'm prepared for it. So I don't know if he'll bring that or not. He didn't bring it last week, or the last time we played in week 11, so I don't know if he'll bring it. Toxapex is another Pokemon that he may or may not bring, because I can really take advantage of it and just start setting up mons and stuff. Even though he has haze and things, if I have a sub mon or something really threatening like that, it can really pose a lot of problems for him. Ditto is a Pokemon that can definitely come for sure, because he brought it in both of the weeks, I think in week 2 and 11. So he will probably bring Ditto in order to avoid me from setting up and try to counter sweep me, and I guess sort of deter setup sweeping. So I mean, that thing will come. Whether it's going to be Choice Scarf or Quick Claw or whatever, I'm not sure. Even Focus Action is an option for Ditto. So I gotta be ready for that. And it's gonna be in the back of my head that he may be Quick Claw, so I'll definitely formulate a plan in the battle such that in the event that it is, I will have a fail-safe method of actually trying to win the game without having Quick Claw activated, trying to screw that up or anything. So Rabombi Shaman may or may not come either. I mean, I have Mega Pinsir, so I wouldn't assume that it would. Haxorus might, because it is a Z-mon and it has D-Dance, Swords Dance, things like that. It can really abuse setup sweeping capabilities. And Blacephalon I think is going to come for sure, because I traded away Incineroar. Incineroar was probably my best answer to Blacephalon, being a pretty solid counter, I'd say, because Dark and Fire sponges both of its stabs. So I think that that'll probably come for sure, and he might bring an offensive variant of Blacephalon, like Specs. I mean, all Blacephalon are pretty much offensive variants, but a more offensive variant than the standard offense, maybe Specs or some kind of really hard-hitting set. Rotom Fan and Archeops are his last 2 mons, which I think he'll bring one of them just so that he'll have a I guess a sort of decent check to Mega Pinsir, so maybe those might come. One of them, I would say. So, just yeah, it was just a basic analysis of his team, I guess. Since this is the last time we will be playing him this season, one of us are going to be moving on to these the semifinals. So hopefully we can win this. So the way that I wanted to build this team, I was actually saving a couple techs here and there to bring in the event that I had to face him a third time. So the week 11 match that I played versus him, I kind of was more reserved in terms of bringing stuff, since I knew that if he would somehow slide into playoffs, then I would face him again, and I'd know exactly what to bring. And let me show you what I got here, okay? I got this Hoopa Unbound, which is not a counter to his mons per se, but it is a counter to his play style. He likes to bring very fast-paced offense, I'd say, with maybe like one sponge in the back or something like Pex. So I wanted to bring a Trick Room Hoopa Unbound. I think that's going to really mess him up, and let me show you what I got here. So we have max attack, max HP, Brave Nature with 0 speed IV, so that we can try to outslow everything and outrun everything under Trick Room. So we have Focus Sash, so that we can guarantee setup, and also as a great check to mons that may get out of hand. We have Hyperspace Fury, which deals so much damage to his team overall. Of course, bar stuff like Mega Scizor and Toxapex. I mean, we can break through Toxapex with Zen Headbutt easily, and Mega Scizor with Fire Punch. So this thing is going to be very, very dangerous for him. And I'm planning on trying to set this thing up mid to late game so that we can sort of just brush through his entire team and just try to clean up if we can. I think this set is really good versus him, especially versus his playstyle. Trick Room is really nice versus teams that try to out offense you and try to be faster and more fast paced. So I think that's what he's going to try to do, especially with Ditto copying me and being potentially scarfed. Trick Room will let me outrun his Scarf Ditto, which would usually try to come in and outrun me. So I think, and of course, especially since he brought Quick Claw to my trick house and tried to trick me, we got to trick him right back with this nice Trick Room Hoopa Unbound. That's what we got to do out here. So that's the first Pokemon that I built around. And Focus Sash can be useful with the ability Magician, because if, for instance, we activate our Sash, we burn up our Sash and we attack him, we could potentially steal his item as well. So that could be really cool. Next Pokemon I got here is going to be Impressive, of course, the best defogger in the world. We got Stealth Rocks, 3 attacks, no defog, of course, because Empoleon doesn't really need to do that to show it's the best defogger. Shucka Berry, so that we can provide as a check to Dugtrio in the case that, you know, we can bait it out, and have Shucka Berry so that we can Scald it or eliminate any attack from it, because we have a decent little bit of defense here, so that we can sponge a little bit of physical hits while also having some decent special bulk. And we have a Scald Ice Beam, so Ice Beam mainly for stuff like Shaman, Haxorus, while Aqua Jet can be used to pick off Blacephalon, and it's really useful in that sense because Blacephalon's defense isn't that great. So even an Aqua Jet from like a non-invested attacking Empoleon can do a lot of work for sure, especially if Blacephalon is just a tad bit weakened. We also have, like I said, have Stealth Rocks to chip away at his team. And I think Stealth Rocks are really great because his potential defoggers, I mean, he has some good defoggers like Mew, Mega Scizor and stuff, but I feel like he'd want to run those more offensively, or in a way where I guess maybe he might not bring defog, who knows, like we'll see. But in any case, I think Empoleon does the job well, and we'll see if that can happen here. So our next Pokemon going to be Coco Loco, nice Tapu Koko here with the Calm Mind, Roost, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam. So I'm bringing, there are some sets here that are a little bit similar to some of the previous weeks, but I'm saving some tech, like for instance Trick Room, Aqua Jet, things like that can be really useful versus his team. We have Tapu Koko with the Calm Mind, Roost, Electrium Z, because I feel like if he brings Dougie, like before I had Shed Shell, but if he brings Dougie and if it's not Scarfed, then I'm automatically going to be faster and I can outrun it and, you know, Dazzling Gleam and stuff. And especially after Rocks are up, then if Dougie doesn't have his Sash, then that's going to be a problem. So he's kind of forced to bring Scarfed, I guess, if he does want to bring Dougie, which I guess sort of is a slot that is unused by other Pokemon. So I don't know if he'll bring it or not. We'll see. But I think this set for Tapu Koko is the most optimal I can bring, because Calm Mind, Roost is great, especially versus other, like if he copies me with his Ditto. I have Roost and Calm Mind, so he can't really, like if I'm at a healthy amount of HP, he can't really break through it with his own Ditto. So we can Roost it off, and he'll have limited options there. So yeah, that's basically the first 3 months that I got here. Let's go ahead and check out the last 3 right now. So we got here Amoonguss, which is my physical defensive wall with Rocky Helmet. I brought it the first time that I played him in week 2 and it put in some pretty solid work. I think in terms of checking his physical threats, great versus, you know, like Mega Scizor, for instance, that can set up with SD. And we have Foul Play, HP Fire, so that we can deter stuff like that. Even Blacephalon, you know, being a special attacker primarily, has a pretty decent attack stat, so Foul Play is able to knock it out in one hit, should he decide to bring that in on Amoonguss. We have Clear Smog to prevent other kinds of setup from other Pokemon, I guess. And just as a way to, I guess, have a poison move to do some damage to Shaman and stuff. We also have like basically Giga Drain, I guess, a stab move. That's pretty much it. Like, Amoonguss does what Amoonguss does best, I think, and in this matchup he has kind of some trouble beating it because of the fact that Amoonguss can just sponge every physical attacker. So he's gonna have to rely on mons like Mew and Blacephalon and stuff to beat it. But we have like options for those as well. But yeah, I thought Amoonguss was just a great pivot for this team, especially since it can help me get into other Pokemon and just sponge attacks. We have Mega Pinsir, which is a little bit different from the other sets that I brought. So I've been saving this one for the last time that I faced Geo in this season, and this is what it is right now. So last time I brought like SD with of course the stab moves and Earthquake, and then the previous time I faced him in week 2, I brought Rock Tomb over Earthquake. So this time I'm bringing sub SD. So the only attacks I have are my stab moves, which are return and quick attack, which means that he can't quick claw my Tapu Koko anymore. So that's not gonna work if I plan it out. So that even if he copies Pinsir, return is gonna do very little to Koko, especially if I'm healthy, and quick attack not doing much. So no Earthquake so that he can deal with the Koko, and no other sort of coverage moves so that he can deal with anything else. And I have a good amount of defense on my Gligar as well, so that even if he does copy me like a certain plus something attack, my Gligar can take it out with Rock Slide, and that'll be nice. But I think Pinsir is great in this matchup, especially if he does decide to bring Toxapex. Sub SD can break that through like easily. It can break through that extremely easily. And we have Moxie, of course, for attacking boosts. And finally, our Baby Chimp, which is our Gligar. I feel like that's great because it can sort of check the Rotom Fan pretty well. It's having a decent amount of speed def while also having a massive amount of defense here with the Eviolite. Rock Slide is great for, of course, the copied Ditto into Mega Pinsir, or you know, just the Rotom Fan or anything like that. I mean, it's just mainly my defogger, because I need a defogger if I'm bringing Mega Pinsir plus like a Sash Hoop on bound. I need ways of getting rid of hazards. So Gligar does that best. Of course, second best defogger out here, and we do have our Empoleon to set up rocks to pressure him. So that's gonna be the team. Hope you all enjoyed. Yeah, another good thing about Mega Pinsir, of course, being that with sub, his Ditto can't copy me if I'm behind a sub, which is really cool, because that in that way I can actually set up SD in that way, because if I'm behind a sub and I set up an SD and he can't copy me when he comes in with Ditto. So I think that set is going to be the most optimal versus him, which I've kind of been saving for a little while. I think the mons that are going to put in the most work are going to be probably Hoopa and Pinsir. Like, that's basically my two most offensive mons on this team. I guess besides Koko. Koko can put in some work too, but mainly banking on Hoopa and Pinsir. So we'll see how that works out for us. Hopefully we can make it to the semifinals. And you know, I think we've done pretty well so far. We're doing pretty well. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Let's give ourselves a round of applause right now, guys. We're doing great. We're doing great. And hopefully, you know, we can make it through and win the whole thing. And of course, match going up tomorrow, 24 hours from this video, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you guys are there, and I will see you all on the battle tomorrow. Goodbye, friends.